Hey everybody, it's Coach Lee from the Fast Lab. And today we're going to talk about something vitally important for every athlete, but unfortunately not every athlete does it well. And that's a good, comprehensive, functional, dynamic warm-up. Okay, why do we want to do a dynamic warm-up? Well, the reason is multifaceted. One, we need to warm up the muscles just like you warm up the car. Number two, we want to get the muscles that we'll actually need for these activities activated and ready to go. Now, the reason we use dynamic is we want those muscles to be in motion, okay? We don't do static stretches or static warm-up routines before we practice or before we compete, because they've actually shown that doing something statically weakens the muscle for about 45 minutes or almost inactivates it for about 45 minutes. We don't want that. We want it ready to go. Third reason, we want to increase the blood flow, increase the metabolism, get everything ready to compete, ready to act. And the fourth reason, and in my opinion most importantly, is it decreases the risk of injury. Not pulling muscles, pulling tendons, all those nagging little injuries that a lot of athletes have their whole career. We can bypass that as long as we do a good functional warm-up. Now, what we're going to introduce today is what we call the Fast Fives. So the way we like to do things at the Fast Lab is we understand how the body works. We want the body to work as a unit and not just as parts, okay? So with our Fast Fives, we try to get as many things happening with the fewer activities that you have to do, so best bang for your buck. Here to help me today is Coach Kinsey and Coach Kayla. They're from our Speed and Agility division. We are practicing social distancing because they're also my daughters, and we've been quarantined either at home or here at the office. So, time to get into our functional dynamic warm-up routine and our Fast Fives. Here we go. Okay, everybody, the first thing we're going to start out with is one of our most important muscles, and that's the hip flexors. Very powerful part of the run, the sprint, so you can imagine it's used for every sport from soccer to cycling. So what we're going to focus on now is a deep lunge. I'm going to have Coach Kayla get into that deep lunge. And what we really want to emphasize is stretching out that hip flexor that she's showing you right now. But also the thing that we want to do is maintain a really good posture, because if she gets sloppy and goes forward, she's going to lose that big stretch through basically the whole abdomen and down into the hip flexor. So we want to maintain this. She's held this one for too long just for showing you. So I'm going to have her continue these dynamically. Every step is going to be a stretch, and she's going to work her way across the room. So perfect form right there. No wasted motion. Everything's a good stretch. So Coach Kinsey is going to show us a variation of that stretch, adding in some trunk rotation, which works with the hips and the pelvis and the legs. So as she goes into the stretch, notice how she's turning opposite of the back leg. Okay, still maintaining a good posture, still getting that good deep stretch. So again, now we're stretching out part of her torso, the hips, okay, and most importantly, that hip flexor group. Awesome. Okay, everybody, the second component of our Fast Fives for our dynamic warm-up is going to focus on the hamstrings, and those are the muscles at the back of the leg right there. So what we're going to do is a hinge, which is one of our fundamental movements. We'll go over those in a later video. And you can tell Coach Kayla is keeping that front leg straight, heel up. Now, if she gets sloppy and rounds her back, she's going to lose that stretch. So she's going to be really strict with her form, hinging from the hip, keeping the back straight, and that's going to stretch what we call the total back line. Give us another variation of the hamstring stretch called Frankenstein's. And we want to maintain a really good posture, very straight. She's taking opposite hand to foot. And this, again, is a little more of an aggressive stretch, but it's also going to stretch the hamstring as well as what we call the back line. Perfect. Okay, part 3 of our Fast Five is going to focus on stretching what we call the adductor muscles, which are the groin muscles. These guys are often neglected, but when you pull one, they'll shut you down. So the first stretch is just what we call a lateral lunge. Coach Kayla is going to dip down, keeping a really strict form, and then she's just going to transfer over to the other side. So it's just a slow rock back and forth. Now, to get more of a line stretch that ties in with the hamstring, when she drops down this time, she's also going to turn her toes up. So it stretches a little differently. Like I said, it pulls in a little more hamstring. Then she's going to drop down, toes up. Perfect. Now, Coach Kinsey is going to show us a more total body variation of that, As she drops down, it's going to be the exact same position, but now she's going to get the trunk involved. So she's stretching a lot more muscle than just the groin. She's also stretching out how everything ties into the trunk, and that's how we move everything together. Okay. And again, don't hold these. We want to keep them dynamic. Perfect. Good job. Okay, the fourth component of our Fast 5 is a muscle we call the piriformis muscle, which is right there. Perfect. And tons of athletes, most of us, especially those of us that also sit when we work, have problems with that piriformis muscle. So we really want to focus on dynamically stretching this one, getting it ready to go. So a good technique, Kenzie's going to show you from the front. Cross that leg over, act like you're trying to sit down in a chair. So now if she turns to the side, you'll see that perfect form, putting that butt back and trying to stretch that muscle. Now she's just going to carry that out in a dynamic fashion, stretching as she goes. She's not forcing anything. She's easing down into it and easing out of it. And that's a great way to get those lateral glute muscles as well as that piriformis muscle. Good job. Okay, everybody, this is the last of our Fast 5s on our dynamic warm-up, and this is going to emphasize the muscles on what we call the lateral line, which is the outside of the leg and the outside of the trunk. So what Coach Kayla is going to do is cross that leg behind her. Notice how her pelvis and her knee are pointed straight ahead, and then she's going to pull in everything else by taking that arm up and over. Good. She's going to ease out of it and then switch to the other side. Remember, dynamic. We are not holding these. Good. Up and over. Keep good strict form. Come out of it. Remember, she's going to do these about 3 or 4 times to each side, and then she should be ready to go. And what we've done is hit all the muscles necessary for every activity that you can think of. Good job, gang.